everyone, Ivy Lee Gaming here, and today we're talking about all sorts of games. We have some drama that does affect our games that we play, Watcher of Realms, Dragonair, and more. So I brought in someone who might know a little bit more about this than me. I brought in Hell Hades. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I might know a bit more than you, and I might not. But it'll be fun to talk about it anyway. Yeah.
You're a developer, right? You're a developer
Exactly.
now.
Yeah.
So you're officially in this mix, and yeah, you're going to be facing a lot of these type of situations. Hopefully not as bad as this. But
Well, you say that, but for some of the people involved here, they might even see this, which we see as like, oh my god, this is going to be awful, as a great like opportunity. So we'll talk through it, but
okay.
sometimes it depends what side of the fence you're on. Yeah.
All right. So today's topic is ByteDance restructuring, cutting, getting out of the gaming business. Period. They're kind of exiting. So along that way, Newverse, there's lots of weird ways they're wording it. Winding down Newverse, restructuring Newverse. I've also heard just cutting Newverse. But they're also looking to sell Moonton. And for those of you that don't know, Newverse is the publisher of Dragonair Silent Gods, not the developer. That's a small company called SGRA. So that's why this affected me immediately, because I'm like, oh, Newverse, that's Dragonair. But that is just the publisher. And then, of course, we have Moonton is the developer and publisher for Watcher of Realms, which, I mean, of course, Hell Hades plays both of those games too, right? So
Yep.
I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm in the mix.
It's going to affect things a lot, right? I mean, or does it?
Well,
that's the big question. Does it?
I would say my initial thought is nothing's going to change in the immediate. Like I don't foresee anything changing within 6 months. And because what will happen here, these companies won't just disappear. Like I was looking at their performances. They're like, everyone's doing well enough to stay alive as a company here. So it's not like they're selling it off because it doesn't make profit. I think they're selling it off because it doesn't make sense to their brand and what they want to do strategically going forward. It was like we're going in a direction here, seeing if gaming could be a big part of what we do. But actually, I think they just want to focus on what they're good at and let Tencent own the gaming space, really. So I think these companies will just be sold to someone else, and that might cause some change. That might cause a bit of change of direction. But I don't think it is going to affect, whether these games still operate and, the content that's kind of been prepped to be delivered. I think that will still be delivered and all that type of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So my first impression was Moonton. Okay, Moonton before Watcher of Realms was already a $4 billion company when it was bought out by ByteDance. Yeah. It was bought out for $4 billion. I'm like, this company's huge. It's not going anywhere. We talk about Plarium. Oh, they hit their 1 billion last year. Moonton's like, hold my beer.
Exactly. I actually didn't realize like how big this Bang Bang Mobile Legends game was. Like,
it's huge.
Yeah, it's basically like a League of Legends type of game, and I've seen it, right? But I didn't know how huge it was. Yeah.
The profits are insane every month. Every month I've been looking at Watcher, and Bang Bang is like insane, millions of dollars every month from each.
Yes, it's absolutely killing it. Yeah. So what will happen is someone like Moonton would just, I guess Moonton was ByteDance's like big push towards, we want to be serious in this space.
Mm-hmm.
We're picking someone else up because they already, with Newverse's publishing arm, and they've got big games as well. It was like, we're definitely pushing into this space and we're making a bit of a splash, but still, they're so much smaller than someone like Tencent, who owns, like Riot, and I mean, they own basically most of the gaming giants. And if you're either going to go into that space and properly compete, or you're not. I think if you're someone like ByteDance, and I think they just looked at it and thought, we just can't get there. We don't want to diversify this much, and all will happen is someone like Moonton, I think, will probably just be bought by Tencent. I can't see who else is going to pick them up.
Yes, someone mentioned there was actually a lawsuit between Moonton and Tencent because Riot Games sued Mobile Legends.
That might make some sense because the game looks just like League of Legends. Yeah, so that might make some sense.
Mobile Legends, League of Legends, even the same goddamn font.
Yeah, and even the characters, like when I was looking at it, I've never played it actually, but when I was looking at sort of clips, I see it on Facebook. It pops up, play this game, and I was like, God, it just looks exactly the same as League of Legends. Even the map looks the same, you know? It's like, so I could understand
Yeah,
that.
they got sued last year. I don't know if it's still ongoing or what the result was, but someone mentioned that in a YouTube comment, so I quickly looked it up. I'm like, oh, that's from a year ago, but it still
Right.
could be relevant. You know how
Oh, it's
those
probably
things
still
go.
ongoing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would make sense if, in order to resolve this, be like, okay, we're just gonna buy you then.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, these are quite complex. I was looking through some of the structures of the companies, and even when I was looking at Nuverse, like there's multiple different like arms of Nuverse. They've got their kind of like publishing arm. They've also got, you know,
They are a
with games like
developer,
Marvel
yeah, as
Snap, they've
well.
got a development side. Like there's a lot going on. So
I w- I was
yeah,
confused at why they didn't have Dragonair listed in anything, but it's because I didn't realize they were actually a developer as well. But
yeah,
Dragonair with Nuverse. Okay, so if Nuverse gets cut back and they're dramatically affected, would Dragonair just be looking for a new publisher? Is it that simple? Like they'd hire a new publisher?
yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So we're actually in this. I guess we're in a position much earlier than where Dragonair is, or what have you, at Fateless, where we are developing our first game, and we would be the equivalent of one of these small studios that probably no one really hears about if
Like
we went with a big.
SGRA, yeah. You'd be
Yeah,
like
if we
SGRA.
exactly, if we went with a big publisher, which is definitely an option for us, rather than doing all the publishing ourselves, then all of a sudden it'd be like, oh yeah, Fateless are really irrelevant to this. It'll be the game is being run by, and then it'll be this name that everyone knows. So that tends to be the direction. A lot of the smaller studios, they go to a big publisher because it just enhances their reach. And
Okay.
I think something like, again, Nuverse would just step out as the publisher, and then a new publisher would come in and continue to kind of drive all of these games. So I personally wouldn't be worried about any of these games that are already launched, they're already doing well. The games I guess I would be worried about, or that not that it affects us right now, but the games that have not yet launched,
That's what it
uh,
said. They're supposed to stop production on all games not
yeah, they
launched.
probably could just be either scrapped, or it depends how far they're through their development. But it might be that the work done so far gets sold to other game
Oh, that's
developers,
true.
or
Okay.
there's a whole bunch of stuff that could go on. It just depends who's interested really, and and what they're interested in. But yeah, for sure, games like Dragonair and Watcher of Realms, I think they're already doing well enough. I was looking at some of the numbers. Like Dragonair is already making multi-millions per month in revenue. Whether that's in profit, it's hard to know because they do advertise a ton.
Yeah.
They're probably spending 50% or something of their revenue back into marketing, which is
Oh, we
pretty
know
nuts.
they pay their content creators.
They do. They
They
do.
do, they do, which is what I love about them, honestly. Their content creator program within the program, outside of sponsorships, is so good. It's a
Yeah.
paying content creator program. And on top of that, they hire people like you have, you've been posting sponsorships as well.
Yep.
And Odd One has two on his Raid channel. Even though he plays Dragonair properly, they're still paying him for sponsorships. I got the same
Yeah,
offer,
that's
but
cool.
I can't do that on my Watcher because of another deal I have with Watcher. So like I could be making money as a sponsorship for a game I'm already playing because they actually do I love that they actually pay their content creators that are already kind of loyal to them. And they're
Yeah. I
seeking
mean,
to hold on to more by having a good content creator program.
and you look at their kind of like downloads because of the work they're doing with all these different creators and what have you. I mean, Dragonair last month, 400,000 downloads. That's just on Android versus Watcher of Realms downloads. What's this like 50,000 on Android? So you can kind of see like that's where their cash is going. Honestly, it goes back into gaining new players, which is cool. It proves they're doing something well. As long as that then transforms into a successful game down the line, then that's the right way to go, I guess.
Yeah, they're that's the thing. At the end of the day, people see like, oh, Nuverse, Marvel Snap, that's a big company. But with Dragonair, I hope people give them a little bit of grace as they learn, because it is their first game.
Yeah,
SGRA is a small company. Like I said, it's like equivalent like Fateless Games, or it's a small
yeah,
company with a small staff that is putting out their very first games. So I hope people will give them chances. If everything's not perfect right away, let's go through a few seasons and see what you think. Because I personally love the game. I love Dragonair and I love Watcher. I love both games,
yeah.
for different
And they
reasons,
both they
right?
both bring something so different as well. Like the more I've
Yeah.
played Dragonair through this sponsorship, and it is, I was playing it through sponsorship, but the more I've played it, I'm like, there's so many good mechanics in this game. They've done the combat really well. There's loads of content. Like, there's absolutely tons of content in the
They
game
added
already.
so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I guess, even if you look at Watcher have just announced they've got a big content drop coming um, this month
Yeah,
or
the
December.
codex thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that looks interesting.
So, both of these games are really kind of like pushing on, and I'd say like a rate of knots, they're really dropping a lot of interesting content, which is cool to see actually. So, yeah, I mean, I guess they're really doing well to try and fight against the established games, like someone like Raid that's been out for years and years. Um, you know, if I was them, I would be quite worried because it's very difficult to keep up with this type of like quantity of content. Plus, they've also nailed the visuals, and they all of these things are
Yeah, they're
great.
beautiful. Both games are
Yeah,
beautiful. They are as good as rate of graphics, if not better in some cases. So that's
mm,
the interesting
yeah,
part.
but yeah. So I guess back to the main topic. I just personally, I would not be worried at all that these games are suddenly going to fall down. Like I just cannot see it. They're too well established already. We've got a good player base, and a company like Moonton will just be. I'd imagine there's people already like falling over themselves trying to acquire it. Like I'd just be surprised if
Okay.
they're not. It's just
So I guess what would be the reality if, let's say, Newverse is showing bad numbers and no one wants to buy it. ByteDance could just cut them and the whole staff is screwed and the company's shut down. Is it that simple? If
I
like
mean,
no one buys it, or is it
yeah,
not that
it
simple?
could
You
it
think?
could go that way. I guess they could just completely shut down a division. That would make. I mean, there's just no way that would happen
Yeah,
unless
it wouldn't really
the
happen
company
though. Yeah,
really is making like a negative profit. I guess we don't see profit. I've not seen any
that's
kind of like
true.
balance sheet stuff. So you can make a lot of revenue and not make any profit, and then maybe that would be what they would do. But I'd be surprised with the titles they've got if they're not turning profit. With Marvel Snap, it's not doing as well as they hope, but it's still making like multi millions per month. And I would think that would be a profitable game. And same with Dragonair, actually, it's making similar sort of money to Marvel Snap. I don't know a lot of the other titles that they've got in
Yeah.
Nuverse, so I think they're mainly, in Asian markets. But
Hmm.
yeah, so I don't know if they're like successful titles or not, or if they're making like multi millions as well. But there's definitely enough kind of like track record here of good performance. I guess it's worth talking about Raid as well. Raid.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna talk about next. Exactly.
Yeah, because Raid was sold actually, or sorry, Plarium was sold
Yes.
before Raid was even launched. So again, you had this kind of like smaller company in Plarium were
Hmm.
bought up by this kind of like bigger
Is that
group.
Aristocrat? Is that the?
Yeah, so Aristocrat were kind of the equivalent of a ByteDance, I guess, but there was
Okay, I was
also
gonna say,
another
are they
layer.
like Tennyson
Yeah,
and ByteDance kind of or close?
yeah, but they don't like ByteDance is probably a better example because they've got all of these different areas of business, and they decided to go into mobile gaming. Like they were in mobile technology, I guess,
Yes, that's
and
what they said.
obviously they've got like
Minute.
TikTok and what have you,
Yep.
and they then decided that mobile gaming would be their next big thing. And obviously they've just looked at it and thought, you know what, this is either too much hassle, or they've seen this downtrend in the mobile gaming market since the pandemic ended. And maybe they just thought, well, that doesn't look like that's for us in the next 10 years. There's all these type of things. And um, yeah, and Plarium had the same sort of thing. Plarium were a very small company. They created a number of games which didn't do that well. They then created Raid Shadow Legends, which has done really well, and they were bought up by a big group. But Aristocrat are not a gaming company, and they might equally just decide at some point, we're just going to sell off our gaming arm. It doesn't mean that these
Mhm.
games will disappear. They're just too successful, I think, to do that.
Okay, so what do you think is the, if you work or if you are SGRA, would you already be looking for, like in your situation, if you saw this news for and Newverse was running your game as a publisher, would you already be looking for another publisher, or would you be kind of waiting to see if someone else buys out Newverse first, or what do you think the next steps are for like Dragonair, that's the small developer that is kind of at
Yeah,
the whim of whatever's happening?
I'd imagine that they probably would have been made aware of this some time ago. I would have thought.
Yeah.
I doubt this would just be like a they're finding out as we're finding out type of situation, but I guess it could be. But I'd be surprised if it was. Yeah, no doubt they would just be straight on looking for a publisher straight away. Like they would just be looking for someone to take that role on as soon as possible because they're doing well. You know, they're progressed well as a game. Um, they probably don't have the in-house resources to make it happen themselves. You know, they probably just don't have that type of expertise. Otherwise, they just would have done it. You know, some of these companies they do it in-house, but I would imagine, as I say, like there'll be someone like a Tencent that would just probably pick them up in a heartbeat, and that's what they do. That's why Tencent are so
They're
successful.
the
Is
biggest in the
are
industry, you
huge,
think?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
massive.
So they're
And
kind of the guy.
they either go in and they kind of like buy a percentage of the company, or they'll go in and just kind of like do um, or they'll buy the whole company and they'll support them as a studio. That tends to be the way it works. So they could buy like a percentage and be. They don't necessarily just go in as a publisher. They'll go in as like a studio support mechanism, and it'd be like, right, we now own 25% of your business, but we'll give you these tools. So we'll open up, you know, some of our publishing arms. We'll open up um, a team that will kind of like support you in your new game development. There's a lot that they would come forward for. Um,
Okay.
so they'd be the biggest, but there's a number of different publishers that they could go to. Um,
So Tennyson is a publisher for gaming as well. It's not just it actually
it,
does publishing.
so it's got an arm of its
Oh yeah,
business that does
publishes
publishing.
some of the world. Oh yeah, it's like you said,
Yeah.
it's got a lot of things that. Okay, okay.
Oh yeah. It's almost like a. It's so difficult to explain. It's got different businesses within Tencent that just do all of the different areas that you could imagine. Like it's.
Okay.
But ultimately, I guess they just have their value in their scale. So you know, anyone that
Okay.
becomes a part of that group, it's like you could just get better deals with people, you get better connections with people, all of that stuff, which as a small studio really helps. Um, but yeah, as a result of that, though, you give up. So if you've got a publisher, they take a percentage of your revenue, for example.
Yeah.
So you know, which is what you're paying for. You're paying for their expertise, and yeah, and they take a good chunk of your money.
So it's not like Dragonair right now has no publisher. That's not the case. It's still Newverse is still functioning pretty much.
Yeah.
Until,
I think so.
Yeah.
By the sounds of it, they're going to do a. It seems like it's quite
They're
aggressive.
cutting
From
back,
what I'm
but
reading, yeah,
yeah.
it looks like it's going to be relatively quick. But again, I don't think we've had an official thing from ByteDance. I think it's just something
No,
that's
it's all
leaked
just
out, right?
everyone's. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Now
it
what
might
about
be.
Moon? Oh, sorry, God.
Yeah, I was just saying, it might be like this will happen over 6 months, or
Yeah, that
you know,
makes sense. It
yeah,
might not
because
be as instant. It's not like the thing is shutting down tomorrow and nobody has a job anymore.
it would be crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if they just literally went, okay, from tomorrow, 30% of all the jobs are gone. Like that's the worst. The
Yeah,
worst
that's usually
situation is if you're in
cuts they
that
start with.
business. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be the worst place to be. I think not necessarily in the kind of like game studios. I think they'll just function as normal. But yeah, Nuverse is probably going to be hit the hardest immediately, and then over time, obviously. I don't know. Sometimes you see these companies; they just reform under a different name with a different leadership, and it's like, right, let's go again.
Okay.
So you know they've got all the expertise there. Just if someone wants to
Yeah,
kind of set that up. So
that's true. And what about Moonton? So Moonton, if they're hearing this news, does Moonton just kind of waits for someone to buy it? Because like they're trying to
guess
sell
so,
it?
yeah. Well,
It's like
so
they're looking, ByteDance is looking for buyers, is what it says. So is
yeah.
Moonton kind of at the whim of whoever buys it? Like they're kind of, or do they have like really much influence on that?
Yeah, so a little bit. They won't. I guess the senior team at Moonton would probably be involved in the conversation, but they probably don't have a lot of say where it would
Yeah.
go. I would think though, for someone like Moonton, it's like a lot of these people that buy the group, they'll set you, you know, like your yearly goals, and it'd be like, okay, this is the general direction.
Yeah.
Aristocrat do
And
it
if
with
you don't hit the
Barium.
goals, they're gonna,
Yeah,
push you
they'll
to.
come and they'll be pushing you for better results and stuff. But ultimately, the same senior team at Moonton probably are the same team before ByteDance kind of got involved, and they'll
Yeah.
probably be the same team after, like you know, or Nuverse, sorry. So I don't think it'll make any difference to them
Okay.
directly, but it could do. You know, it's hard to say. You might have someone come in and say, right, we're going to strip away all of your senior team. We're going to put new people in, and
That's true. Sometimes they're
yeah,
aggressive. Someone said Scopely's really bad with that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know
right,
much
okay.
about them,
I
but
don't
I've
know.
heard
I
that they're
don't know.
kind of not one you'd want to come in and take over.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, in some,
Yeah.
this is it, and it might be that ByteDance literally saw this as a short-term play, if Moonton's value has gone up, for example, 20%. I don't know
Mhm.
if it has, but if it has, then it'd be like, great, this is a great time to exit. We bought it.
That's
It's
true.
done well. We're going to sell
Sell
it
it for
again.
more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, like
True.
there's loads of this type of stuff that goes on.
Okay. I'm really glad that you felt that way because that was my very first instinct was like, oh please, they're gonna be fine. If they're looking for a buyer, they're not like cutting them. They're looking for a buyer, and Moonton's so successful, it should be fine. I guess I was more worried about how it could affect that the publisher situation could affect Dragonair because like they're about to go into the next season and release new content.
Yeah.
I'm like, will this stall things? Like that's the kind of stuff I was worried about, but. Sounds more like this is just a little bit of a leak of information. We have to wait for the officials. And either way, it's not like nothing is dramatically changing in overnight in one day. It's not like they're just gonna stop. So
Yeah, I think so. And
yeah,
again, we don't know for sure. But that's the
that's
thing.
true.
We don't know for sure. But it definitely, I'd be surprised if two games that are doing so well in like their first couple of months after launch or their early spell, it would be crazy to me that they would be affected, but also the companies that rule them, that run them, are much bigger than
Yeah.
just these two games. So again, like maybe
So
not so much
don't
with Dragon Age.
worry. Spend your someone was saying don't spend money in Watcher of Realms anymore. Sorry, Smiley, I'm calling out you. I love you, Smiley, but don't say that. Support your games, support the company. Don't worry, play the games. They're not going anywhere. Either way,
Yeah.
if worst case scenario, they're just going to have a different company running them. They're not going anywhere, though, right? Let's be honest.
Someone actually said, "Oh, a Fateless done and buy Watcher of Realms." I was like, "We cannot afford to buy Watcher of Realms." I'll tell you that much.
I don't think people think that Plarium is the biggest thing in the world and that Raid is the biggest game, and they don't realize that like they're not.
No,
They're not.
nowhere near. Nowhere near.
All right. Well, I thank you so much for joining me for this conversation.
That's been
It
fun.
really helped me feel better about my initial thoughts of not to worry. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna put all of his links for Fateless and for, of course, his websites. Obviously, Hell Hades is playing Raid and Watcher of Realms and some Dragonair, plus some of the other HH Gaming guys are also loving Dragonair, I know as well.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. I know
yeah.
that actually Never is from HH Gaming is like absolutely immersed
He is.
in
He loves it.
Dragonair. He's like playing it non-stop. So yeah, he's doing a lot of the
Who's
content.
playing
for it on the
Watcher?
website.
Just you, or is anyone else?
Just me. Yeah, just me and Ash, but obviously Ash is not.
Oh
HH
yeah.
Gaming. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, my editor does. Saying that, my editor does. Like he's
Oh.
always like, "Oh, don't tell me who you got in your shard pools. I'm going to watch it while I'm editing it." So yeah.
Yeah, you've got some lucky pulls, haven't you?
Oh, loads. Yeah. Awesome.
Oh man. All right. Well, everyone, go give subs and likes and all the things over there. We're gonna have another collab related to Watcher of Realms on his channel. But if there's any more news that feels like a dramatic difference in this kind of conversation, in our opinion, I'm probably gonna I'll do update videos about the situation with ByteDance and Moonton and everything, and a new verse. If it directly affects our games, I will definitely. But if it doesn't seem like it's gonna affect us, I mean, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Thank you again, Hell Hades, for joining me.
All right. Thanks very much.
All right, guys. We'll see you in the next video.